All right, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Living the Dream podcast. Today on the show, we have Flint Jamison, who is the founder of Vestus Capital. Flint, how you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for having me.
Of course, man. Thanks for coming on the show. And we like to jump right in. So if you could start with telling us a little bit more about yourself and what you like to do for fun, that'd be great.
Yeah, let's go to the Wayback Machine. I'm a mechanical engineer, graduated from Colorado State University. My claim to fame, or I guess the coolest part about what I've done in my career is I helped design the 787, the Boeing 787. From there, I got my MBA, became a program manager, and helped modify aircraft for the Air Force. And I just recently quit my W-2. But let's focus a little bit on the real estate. So go back in time again. 2018, I bought a duplex. I bird it. It was good and all, but I realized all that work, all that capital, it wasn't going to get me to any early retirement or financial freedom very quickly. So I found syndications and I haven't looked back. So since then, I've partnered with experienced teams on single multifamily assets. I've done fund of funds. I'm doing build to rent right now. So things are exploding, and I'm no longer in my W-2.
Yeah, there we go. Um, is there was there a market change that made you go the build to rent route,
Uh,
or just an opportunity that fell in your lap?
yeah, it was kind of an opportunity. I mean, that asset class is just blowing up. There is so much demand, like billions of dollars, actually hundreds of billions of dollars of institutional money is going towards investing in built to rent communities, but they don't build. So we'll build and we'll sell it to them, and investors get along for the ride. So the investors get in at the development level and sell. I have some friends that the build to rent is basically like syndicators who partner with builders and then start doing new development. And we chose build to rent. And I just happen to know these guys, and they started pumping that they're doing build to rent. So as I expressed my interest, and they pulled me in.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. That's awesome. So you started real estate in 2018 and syndication started what year?
I would say I started educating myself via online videos and podcasts back in 2019. 2020, I started networking with people and really getting more serious. Going back in the Wayback Machine again. In 2021, I had my first failed. My very first syndication was a 23 unit right outside of Denver. We had to back out of that deal. And the earnest money went hard, and I lost $30,000. So you think of these mentorship programs out there that cost $30,000. Well, I got mine through the world of hard knocks. I learned a lot, and I may have learned more through that failure than I would have through some guru program. So no investors were harmed in that, but I immediately took the weaknesses, got another coach, and here I am. I got a coach to figure out how to solve my weakness, and then just started growing and became successful.
Yeah, absolutely. I I had a 16 unit under contract. I wasn't gonna syndicate, it was gonna be more of a JV, but nobody I didn't have the strong enough connections in my network, so nobody trusted me on the deal.
Yes.
Nobody would come
Yes.
in on me. I lost the earnest money. Luckily, it wasn't anywhere near 30,000. It was more like 2 or 3,000. But it just yeah, it's rough when you fail on that
Yeah.
first deal. um,
Yes. And what's funny is you talk to enough syndicators out there, and whether it's they having to back out on earnest money, or I mean, there's people that have lost hundreds of thousands, if not $1 million on a given transaction. And a lot of those, they have managed to protect their investors, but they have taken a deep hit in their pocket.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. So are you primarily on the raising capital side? Do you also operate slash asset manage? Tell us a
Yep.
bit more.
So from an SEC perspective, we can't just be 100% capital raisers unless we create a fund to fund, and that's a different gig. But yes, primarily capital raising, but I have to bring value elsewhere. And on one asset, I did asset management. On another's, like the built to rent, I'm doing a lot of upfront website, investor relations, lead flow. There's a lot of stuff on the front end that I'm working on from capital raising standpoint that's helping them out.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Well, tell us about your motivation. What gets you up and gets you going every day?
Yeah, it's funny that I started out with that duplex thinking, you know what, just going to buy a big portfolio and retire early and live off of passive income. Uh, Once I got in the syndication world, everything started changing because anyone you meet in who's a serious syndicator has uh, a different mindset. Everyone's coming from a different background. They could be doctors, nurses, lawyers, winemakers, you name it, engineers like myself. And it's the mindset of abundance and let's go change the world. And time is the most valuable, you can't call it a commodity. It's the most valuable thing to us humans. So let's maximize it. It just changes the perspective. And that's exactly what I want. Right? I want time. You got to focus on time because I have 2 kids and I just want to live to maximize my time with a 4 and 6 year old. And I want to be able to travel the world. I want to be able to give back.
Yeah. I love it. Maximize your time, travel the world, give back. Um, Curious, you just quit your W-2. Is that like in the past month, in the past year?
2 months ago, January.
Two
Here we are
months
in
ago.
March.
And I assume it's because of the success of your deals.
Yeah, yeah. And it's not, I didn't 100% replace my income because at some point I was working nights and weekends for 2.5 years. At some point, it becomes unsustainable. It gets really hard to scale to just doing nights and weekends. And you get really burnout. You start becoming less effective in your day job and you can only do so much nights and weekends. So it's not sustainable. You just have to choose to make that leap. Luckily, my wife she has a good salary. So uh, we're just going to live on her income and everything I bring in is bonus until I get stability. And then I don't think it's going to take long before I skyrocket in a few years from now. She will be work optional as well.
Yeah. When it takes off, it takes off.
Yeah.
Especially like with the deals you have going, most of the time the syndicators see the profit on the back end of the deal 3 to 5 years out. Is that right?
Yeah, so let's break this down a little bit more. A lot of people ask this question. There's multiple ways we make money. The one is largely it's on the upside because of the equity and at the sale. We do share in the cash flow as long as we've met like a preferred return. But in the beginning, we do get an acquisition fee. So you can kind of look at that as like the active income for a syndicator. It takes 400 to 500 hours to close on a given property. If you have a 100 unit, 200 unit property, that takes a ton of time. So we give ourselves an acquisition fee anywhere between 1% and 3%. That is usually a healthy amount, just divided amongst a few of us, right? You take like a $20 million apartment building, divide that a 3% and 5 GPs or 10 GPs, you can get a good, healthy fee from that. And that is really what sustains us until the full cycle deals start coming through. And then that's when really the big money hits.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Just curious, what is like the normal amount of syndications that any given syndicator can close per year? Are we looking at one a year, two a year? You getting into four a year?
Geez, some of these bigger groups are doing 6 to 8 or more.
Yeah.
But at that point, you have a company and you have 30 to, I mean, you look at Rise 48, they have 200 employees working for them. So, and they're fully vertically integrated with property management, general contractors. People like me, I want to do 6. Last year, I only did 3, but the economy is also a driver in this.
Yeah.
Some assets are harder to get right now. The interest rates are high. And then also investors have really retracted. The news cycles have got a lot of people scared and they just sending on their money. Inflation's eating away at people's pockets while they fear investing. So yeah, there's a lot of factors that are slowing us down.
Yeah, for sure. How do you navigate those conversations when you're talking with investors and they're sitting on their money, kind of fear mongering going on?
Yeah, it's a delicate conversation. I stopped watching the news, like 2 years ago, just because it annoys me.
Yeah.
It's just like clickbait, and they hit on these stories that'll get attention, but it's not necessarily the reality. So I wish I would watch more news so I'd know what's getting pumped into people's minds. But it's hitting those pain points. Is the stock market doing what you think it's going to do for you? Are you satisfied with the stock market returns? And sometimes they're like, no. Are you looking to catch up on your retirement so you can retire at an age you want to retire at? Yeah. Well, sometimes it's good to invest in a property that gives you cash flow now versus waiting for that time when your retirement, your nest egg is going to be available. You can control your income. You invest for income rather than invest for hoping your nest egg is big enough. So there's a lot of pain points you can hit, and that's really what I try to dig out of investors, because everybody has a different pain point.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Well, awesome. So we know you're trying to, maximize your time, travel, and give back. Do you have any specific ways you're looking to give back?
Yeah, there's a program called Engineers Without Borders. It's like Doctors Without Borders, but engineers find ways to create like water filtration systems in Africa or these third world countries, or find way to get power into communities that don't have it. I mean, there's all sorts of unique ways that engineers can solve problems around the world.
Hmm, I gotcha. I didn't know about Engineers Without Borders. That's interesting.
Yeah, it's lesser known.
Yeah. Well, there we go. Let's jump into dreams and goals now. Engineers Without Borders, traveling back. Any others that you want to chat about? Like, do you see yourself with the vertically integrated company here in 5, 10 years, or where do you see that going?
Yeah, 200 employees in 2 years. No, you know what's funny? I kind of don't set some of those aspirations. I've I've allowed myself more serendipitous growth, because as long as you're bringing a huge amount of value to people and you're targeting, I mean, I'm targeting time freedom. So to me, having a company with 200 employees seems like a job, and you don't have to have that in order to have financial freedom. So if there's a partnership that lands in my lap, that I just feel like this is perfect. We're all going to complement each other. We all want the time freedom in the end, and we can all support each other to get there. I'll do it. But yeah, I mean, I don't have aspirations to have $100 million in my bank account. It's not necessary. I need enough to live the life I just want to live.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I like that perspective. Was there ever a point where you wanted that $100 million and you had to shift that perspective, or have you always been kind of grounded?
I always, well, that's funny you asked that, because I never figured I would get to 100 million, even though I probably could now. It's in real estate. It's very possible if I put myself to it. But no, as an engineer, you're never going to get to that $100 million bank account. So no, but where, I guess, to answer the question in a different way, how I shifted my perspective to this serendipitous life growth is, I was talking to some leaders back when I'm in corporate America. I'm interviewing these higher level people, and this guy is like, how'd you get to where you are? Because he was a director of a big department, probably doing really well. And I was like, so are you satisfied at where you got to? And he's like, no, I just wanted to be a VP. Like, he did not get to the point where he wanted to be, even though he's making good money. He's in an astute position. He was he wasn't satisfied with where he got in life, and he was retiring soon. I'm like, God, that sucks. I mean, he just beat himself to death, working super hard, taking on more and more responsibility, working more and more hours, the rat race.
Yeah.
And then he wasn't happy with where he got to. That's not even the life to live. Another VP I talked to, asked him how he got to where he got to, and he said, it's serendipitous. You keep providing value, you work hard, and all of a sudden opportunities fall in your lap, and that one sounds good. You go do that, and next thing you know, you end up in some totally different spot you never expected, but it's something that's you can really get behind and enjoy. Right? Those two mindsets are very different. And I'm like, well, I'm going to choose this other mindset.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that. The serendipitous mindset also leads to you just, I feel like being more present and just enjoying life a bit more,
Yes. Yes.
accepting stuff as it comes, which I feel like is
Yeah.
really the key to life. You know, you could get all the success in the world, but if you're miserable, you hate yourself and you hate the moment you're in,
Yeah.
it's not worth anything. So I could dig it. I could dig it.
Yeah.
Well, awesome. So I'm trying to, I had a question in the back of my head, and now I'm trying to remember it. I guess I saw you primarily deal with engineers when it comes to raising capital. Are you
Yeah.
like just using your network from when you were working? Are you running ads? Do you have like a freebie you give out? What's the kind of
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
process look
So
like?
let's talk about engineers really quick. Um, they're very hard to convert. And I get it. I'm an engineer. There's skepticism, all the time skepticism and analysis paralysis. It's really hard to convert an engineer. It takes a lot of effort. Um, but I do, uh, for the longest time, I was just doing LinkedIn. I still am. LinkedIn is my number one place. I post, I create value, I educate, and then I get inbound leads. But as of January, I started doing outbound reach and starting connecting to higher level, higher net worth engineering, like VP of engineers, directors of engineering, just because I know those. You got to have people with deeper pockets in order to start investing $50,000 or more comfortably.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you ever have clients, are they taking the 50K right out of their, checking account, or is this like a 401k conversion?
Yeah. So the solo 401k is hard to do because you have to have your own business without any employees. I have one. I have a solo 401k. Um, just I guess for your listeners, let's go back on that a little bit. You can convert if you have your own company. You can set up a solo 401k. You take basically. I took my old Boeing 401, turned it into a solo 401, and now I have self-directed or checkbook control where I can deploy it to if I want to invest in crypto or real estate, bullion. I think I can buy gold with it. Um, it's nice because now I have more control over my 401 money. You can also do the same with self-directed IRAs. That's the easier path for most people. You don't there's no threshold or special requirements. If you just have an IRA, you can turn it into a self-directed. Um, I did HELOC. I like to talk about all the ways I can get my money. So I have a ton of equity in my primary residence. So you go to the bank, you get a HELOC. Back when I got it, I was like a 3% interest rate. And I was investing into properties giving 15 to 20% annual average returns. Seems like a fair trade. And there's a ton of, so if you don't use your equity in your house, it's dead equity. It means nothing. If you don't plan on selling your house, that's a ton of value that's totally worthless. A
Yep.
lot of people like to say, I have a ton of equity in my house. Well, what good is it unless you plan on moving to use that equity for something else, or unless you start trying to invest it and leverage it? Uh, there's a fourth one. Yeah, selling stocks or they have $50,000 in the savings account. That's so to be honest, I get multiple. A lot of people move the money out of the stock market and push it into these and savings accounts as well as self-directed IRAs.
Gotcha. 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 Out of the stock market, the self-directed IRAs. And did you say a decent number are doing HELOCs as well, or less on the HELOC?
I To be honest, HELOC money comes through as just cash to us. We don't see whether it's coming from a HELOC. Same with people selling money out of the stock market and giving it to us. To us, it's just cash.
Yeah.
Um, with self-directed IRAs and 401ks, those need to remain in certain shelters. We have to have paperwork in place. There's LLCs in place, so those are much more obvious to us.
I gotcha. Well, nice. Are there any skills that you feel like you need to develop to really get to that next step towards your dreams and goals?
Oh God, so many. This is why I hire coaches. I'm now on my third coach. So every time you find a weakness, you got to go find a coach, and sometimes you just got to dive deeper and deeper. Like for syndicators, you start off with syndication 101. You learn the whole thing, but at a certain point, you got to figure out what your thing is going to be and dive deep. So I ended up capital raising, and now I have a sales coach. Marketing is hard. I need help there, and so that's where I get coaching. But now I need to start hiring out for that. The other thing is when you start working for yourself, even though I've managed a big program, had lots of employees, I'm finding it's hard to manage myself. Like it, time blocking and just hitting the low hanging fruit versus spending the time on the big challenging thing that makes the most value. That is really hard to do. So that's just being better with using my time.
I gotcha. So when you say marketing, I know you're doing like LinkedIn right now. Do you
Yeah.
have a vision for other forms of marketing that you'll be doing, or you just need to hone
Um,
your LinkedIn skills?
they always say hone in on what's working, and don't spread yourself too thin across the board. Like going and creating content for TikTok and Instagram and Twitter. And once you get too many, I can only create so much content,
Yeah.
and the engagement, right? And you got to deal with algorithms. So just focus in on where your audience is. That's key. But outside of that, and I consider this more sales side, you got to get in front of people. So I'm starting to get better at going to local meetups. I did a Chamber of Commerce thing last week, which actually turned out pretty fruitful. There was only like 11 people in the room, but I got a lot of attention that day. There's people who want to find better ways to invest their money, and you just got to put yourself out there and talk to everyone. Tell people in an elevator, sit next to people at a bar, and just start a conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. That is so interesting. I like it's still a very one-to-one approach, you know? Like usually when you
Yes,
think
yes.
marketing, it's like Facebook ads, throw $10,000 in, get 10,000 leads and convert 100
And
of them.
yeah, no, it's even worse than that, I think. So no, we don't, no throwing money at ads. That's not very good. Um, I know a lot of people create books. I think for some that's okay, but for a lot of them, they spend a lot of money, like $12,000 to get a book, and they barely get anything from it. Um, it all comes down to that person on person contact. It's the relationship. When people are investing $50,000, they're putting their trust in you. You got to have that one on one relationship.
Yeah, yeah, I feel that. Um, have you ever thought about I was reading this one book. I think it was called Getting the Money by Susan Lassiter Leones or something like that. I think that's what the book is called. And she actually talks about direct mail for getting private investors. Have you ever thought about that?
Yes, I hired a marketing company last year. I'm not working with them anymore, but they had a financial advisor client who very specifically did just mailers to affluent communities in a given city. He just had very, very specific targeted market. And he had enough clients in that market that referrals get around, and the
Yep.
mailers come in. All of a sudden, he would get enough conversions. I thought about doing that, and I still might, but I need marketing help to do that, because for me to figure out how to write a mailer that's going to convert people, uh, that's, once again, I'm an engineer,
Yeah.
but I wouldn't mind having someone who's good at that. Right? You got to write the correct uh, things. I mean, it's all comes down to copywriting,
It
how good
does.
you are at it.
It does for sure. For sure. Um, there was this podcast I listened to as well. Do you know Whitney Sewell?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, his podcast had like a raising capital episode, and I think there was this one syndicator that like went to an accountant who sent like I think it's a K1. Is it a K1?
yeah, yeah.
He was sending out K1s, like an accountant that sent out a bunch of K1s. He's like, "Hey, I'll pay for your mailing cost if you let me slip an advertisement for my company in the mail." And
Whoa.
by doing that, he got sent out to like 1,000 people or however many clients the accountant had who were already investing in real estate. And so when they saw that company recommended by the accountant, right? Like put some quotes around that. Your name is with the accountant's brand. He got a lot of leads like that.
Dude, that is brilliant. Yeah. All right. Noted.
Accountants can be kind of hard to talk to, but if you find a good one, um, you know,
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Maybe my accountant would be down for that. All
probably, yeah.
right.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And then, so you got sales coach for your sales skills.
Yeah.
Just talked about marketing a little bit, and then you're working on managing yourself as well. The time blocking and doing really impactful things versus like the nitty
The
gritty that
low
you get
hanging fruit.
distracted. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel that. That
Uh,
is always like it's really hard when you are alone too. Like when you're going to an office, like even if you're a CEO and you're going to an office, there's still more accountability than when you have your whole day and you're designing your
yeah.
whole day, and a good chunk of it might not be meetings right now. It might be doing some deep work on some really impactful things. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, time blocking, that'll get you, man. I'll get you. I
And
get
the thing is you're working at home and you can just get on your computer. Like I'm still doing nights and weekends
you.
because I just got stuff to do. I'm a solopreneur.
Yeah,
Uh,
exactly.
but at least I know I can walk away at 1 o'clock in the afternoon if I have to and go take a kid to doctor. It doesn't matter. I can take 3 days off and go skiing with the family. So there's perks to it, but you can also work yourself to death if you don't, really control your own time.
Yeah, absolutely. What are the highest impact daily actions that tick the needle forward for you right now?
Um, as my sales coach says, engage, engage, engage. You just have to reach out to the leads, whether it's calling existing leads and cultivating that relationship, or reaching out to new leads. I think that's the biggest impact I can make.
Yeah, there we go. And is there a character trait you need to develop right now to kind of get to that next step?
There's always character traits. I need to learn how to do copy better. I don't know that that's a character trait.
We can put that on
Yeah, I
skills.
need to be a better communicator. It all comes back to this. There's a very good reason why I have a sales coach, because as an engineer getting into sales and marketing, it's a brand new world for me. So communication, I think, is probably, it just comes down to that.
Yeah, yeah, I gotcha. Communication. What do you think is the hardest part for communication when it for you?
I think it's the written copy and saying the things that'll bring people in, the things that'll engage people. Because you can write all sorts of stuff all day long and no one's going to engage with it. It's
Yeah,
finding a way to be able to communicate something that will drive engagement. And when there's engagement, that's when you get more value. That's when more leads start coming inbound. People, and then to be honest, the algorithms of all social media will start driving your content further, and you'll get more reach.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. I've like learned a little bit about copywriting, and it still eludes me. Like it's still like even when you know like the basics of it, the foundation of it, it's like words that like address fears or words that address like their deepest desires, you
Yeah,
know, and like use the words that they use in their everyday life. It's still like really hard to get that
it
sentence
is.
right, to get that.
So I've been at it for a year on LinkedIn, and um, I've been getting better. I mean, putting in the reps and practice, you'll always get better, right? But
Yeah.
now I'm reading a book called Copywriting Secrets by Jim Edwards.
I was gonna suggest that book to you.
So I'm in the middle of it. But yeah, it's goodness. And I feel like I know a lot of it. I just need to figure out how to be better at it,
Yeah.
or hire someone that's good at it. Because at some point, there's the book, Who Not How. I need to start hiring who's rather than figure out how to do it on my own.
Yeah. Absolutely. Especially because with copywriting, you know, if you get a good copywriter and you pay him $2,000 to write you some direct mail that's going to bring you 100 investors, if you send out 5,000 of them, you know, it's like
Oh yeah.
that's totally worth it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is totally worth it. Um, but yeah, you know, some copywriters will charge you $100,000, so be careful who you go with.
Yes. No. I don't. You know what's funny? It's a funny side story. I had the marketer who worked with Grant Cardone reach
Mhm.
out to me, and I had no idea that this particular marketer created Grant Cardone. Like he wouldn't exist without this marketing team. The whole 10X brand, all of his big speeches, they
Really?
created him. Yeah, I'm like, whoa. Uh, they've created some other very big, well-known people, and I know some people actively doing it now, and their LinkedIn profiles are just blowing up. So I was like, all right, I'm half tempted, but how much do you cost? And it was $10,000 a month. I'm like,
Yeah.
well, maybe someday. I
Yeah.
can't.
After a couple more syndications.
Yeah, I need to get a, yeah, it's funny because it's almost like a catch 22. Because if there was a way I could afford that now, where would I be in 6 months or a year from now? Like, would I just make up all that ground? Like, I go get the small business loan just to cover one marketer who's going to make me explode. I don't know.
I was about to say you might want to look into business credit if that is the like if you really believe if you're seeing that company blow some other LinkedIn's up and they could bring you 200 investors in the next year, is that
Yeah,
200 investors worth more than $120,000 to you? Probably. You know, just put a
maybe.
number on it.
Yeah, yeah,
And so, yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting.
yes.
Do you feel like you kind of should go for it, but something's holding you back?
Yeah. Oh, always. So here's the problem. You hear this a lot in the world of syndicators. Like I have gone deep into the, hey, do you have a marketing company that works really well? Do you have a good copywriter? Do you have a good VA? You're just constantly asking around who's got good resources. And when it comes to marketing, all the people I've asked are like, no, I just lost a bunch of money. I've lost a lot. And I could say I've probably lost several $1,000s to marketing attempts that I've paid for. Uh, and that's where you get this reservation of, God, am I just going to throw another $1,000 at something that's not going to work? Let alone $10,000 at something that, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. Even the VAs, like I'm now digging back into finding a VA to help with just random admin stuff, doing website stuff. You know, that's the low hanging fruit that I shouldn't be spending time on. I can pay a VA $5 an hour, but how much effort am I going to take just to get them the work and teach them through? Like I could just have done it already.
But then that's also the hard part because after you train them, it'll be completely off your plate. But it takes so much
Yes.
more time upfront to
Yeah.
train them than it would be to just do it this one time.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah. I was
so
talking,
yeah.
I was talking to a company today. Their minimum is 20 hours a week. And I'm like, man, I would love to offload 20 hours a week, but I don't know how to offload 20 hours a week. I just, without knowing the capability, it's going to take me 40 hours that week just to figure out how to offload 20 hours. It's just, I think I need to baby step myself into this. So I need to just need to find another VA that's competent and just deal with the training.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll come through.
Yeah. Maybe you should look for a VA that can copyright. I bet there's one out there. You know, the VA
Yeah,
is
I've
oh
actually got a form right now, a stateside copywriter that I was filling out right before dialing into this. So,
that's epic.
because you can't, I don't think you can, you can hire these people in the Philippines or India for $5 an hour, and they're very capable at doing WordPress website. Like my podcast went live, go put it in there. All of this simple admin stuff, they are more than capable, and $5 an hour is totally worth it. Um, Copywriting is way different.
Yeah.
That is like you got to have someone who's native English speaker. You got to have someone who understands the market, the niche market. You got to put in more money.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Well, awesome. If there were one or two people that you can meet right now, it could be a specific person or a type of person, and they'd help you take that next step. Would it be the copywriter?
To
Or would
be
it be someone
honest,
else?
you know what would be really great is a marketer who can help me build a full strategy. Like right now, my strategy is just hit LinkedIn and do some outbound. Um, I I need someone that can give me a better cohesive marketing strategy, which can give me more focus. Like it might be keep doing LinkedIn, keep doing your thing, but then add mailers and then go do this other thing. And let's get you on a talking circuit and get you on the stage, right? It's someone that can confidently tell me and point me in the right direction.
Yeah, for sure. Do you have a goal for how many investors you would need before you could do all the syndications you want to do in a given year?
That's a great question. To be honest, I'm just shooting for a $4 million raise this year. That's my target. And that could come in many shapes. I mean, I have some investors in my database I haven't converted yet, but they could do $1 million or $500,000. But a majority of them are $50,000 investors. So it's going to take a lot to get there.
Yeah. Yeah. How many $50,000? What is that? 80, $50,000 investors?
Yeah, something like that. Because $1 million would be 20. Yep. That's right.
Yeah. 80 people.
So that's why, I mean, investors are hard to convert. So that's why it's nice to have the 100K investors, the 250, 500 here and there.
What does your investor touch point program look like? Is it like once a week, once every 2 weeks, once a month?
I got monthly newsletters, but I also do monthly meetups.
Okay.
I have drip campaigns and stuff for the initial download, and then I try to get on the phone. I need to get better. Let me put it this way: I need to get better at getting on the phone and just talking to them. But it's hard when you have it. I mean, my database is relatively small compared to others, but I have 300 people in there and 300 people to call.
Yeah. Yeah. I gotcha. There we go. Well, nice. A marketer who can help you build a full strategy.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you would be opposed to doing in a marketing strategy?
I think ads and SEO. I've already been down that rabbit hole, and I've also with my coaching, it's just not worth it.
Yeah.
Until I'm able to pay $10,000 for a marketing company a month, then maybe ads is worth it.
Very true. Very true. Very true.
But SEO is also one of those things you have to pay $30,000 to $60,000 a year, and you have to have a company that's willing to create content and pump it out there every day. That's the only way to win the SEO game. And at a certain point, it's just not worth it.
Yeah. Yeah. I gotcha. Do you think being with that company where you pay $10,000 a month for 2 years would make you more or less than $240,000?
I would hope it makes me way more.
But
that's the thing, right?
Do you believe it would actually make you more? Or are you kind of
so this is where like the engineers are skeptical. And this is where I feel a little skeptical, because some of that relies on the personality. Like Grant Cardone is just this big personality that they can leverage. I'm more quiet personality. And that's going to be harder. I can't get on a TV show and just deliver. And Grant's just good at it. He's just a great talker. He was born to be a great, just thrown in the fire and able to say whatever he says, right?
Yeah.
It's harder for me to do that.
Yeah.
Back to the communication piece. Full circle.
I gotcha. Interesting. So they did like all of his bookings and everything, huh? It wasn't like
that's my impression. That's what they're saying. Yeah. Let's get you on TV shows. Let's get you on stages. Let's build this book. Let's do the whole 10X brand is theirs.
Wow.
Yeah. They created that.
That's impressive. That is a big brand.
Yeah. And they've done some other massive brands. So yeah, it's crazy.
Who do you think you would be 2 years from now, paid them $240,000? Do you think your communication skills will have been honed such that you are speaking
That's possible
in a different way?
Yeah, and I'd own a Gulfstream and be flying around in a private jet. A yacht in the Caribbean.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. But it's the thing. Is that what I want? I mean, it'd make me a bunch of money, and then I could exit stage left and just ride the wave that I created. But yeah, it's such a great question, and I think about it all the time. There's another marketer who I think could do a great job, and she said $5,000 a month, and that was my initial gut punch. And then I ended up talking to this other team at $10,000 a month, and I'm like, oh, that 5,000 sounds a little better now.
Yeah. What would it take for you to commit to it right now? What would have to happen?
uh,
Maybe this.
that's a great question. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. I would have to think about that a lot. I think one, I need more money in my pocket to throw at that. Well,
it's how you get more money in your pocket, though.
it's how, yeah, it's true. Yeah, you got to spend money to make money. Um, I would have to get very creative. Like I got a lot of money out there building equity and some
Yeah.
cash flow, but it's not like, yeah.
Hey, just syndicate the money and give people equity in your brand.
You know what's funny is part of the way they make money is one, they get you started on $10,000 a month retainer, and then once you start making money, like you're doing keynote speeches and getting $10,000, making $10,000 on the keynote talk that they put you in and wrote your speech for you, they do a profit share. So that's their incentive. They like continue. All right, you're now gonna get out there. We're gonna make you money, and you're gonna give us part of the profit split. So that's their business model.
They sound like some good people to be around. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean they're well connected. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, cool. We're gonna jump into our thriving three now. These questions are a bit quicker. What's your favorite book, movie, or podcast? Pick one.
So let's go favorite book, and I always choose a different book because I like a lot of them. But Killing Sacred Cows came across my feed again recently, and I read that over a year ago. But the society has taught the poor and middle class how to manage your money in one way, and then the wealthy do something completely different. And it'll open your eyes to why the wealthy do it and the way we've been trained to do things. Like your retirement accounts, I'll be honest, they aren't the bee's knees you think they are.
They're
So
trash.
killing sacred cows will help you open your mind and understand why.
Yeah. Awesome. What's one way you like to take care of yourself?
I work out 4 to 6 days a week.
Lifting, cardio.
CrossFit, so both.
There we go. And what is one action step you can take right now to meet that marketer who can help you build that full strategy?
I know you were going to go right back there. What's it going to take to get you in this car today? Yeah, oh man. I was doing some soul searching earlier today as I was looking for some VAs. It comes back to, where do I need the most help? Maybe I knock off the low hanging fruit that annoys the crap out of me and get that VA. And then I need a marketer. It's like those two back to back.
Yeah.
That's it's been eating at me for a while now. And I failed
How
a
long is
couple
a while?
times.
How long is a while?
Let's see. I hired my first VA a year ago, fired them 2 months later. Yeah, 2 months later. I hired a marketing team back in October, November. That didn't work out. January, they actually quit before I quit. I dropped them, and I haven't gotten anyone back on the horse yet.
So that girl for $5,000 a month, what did she say she would do for you? Is it similar, like get you on TV shows, get you speaking?
No, it's nothing like that. Hers is more very, very targeted lead generation and doing marketing. Like I think she would help with doing the copy, getting me on the right places in social media, not hitting them all. It's a great question. We didn't go too deep, but she is a very specific finance driven marketer. She understands the world I play in. A lot of marketers have no clue, which is why you can get sideways and lose money like I did. They didn't understand it, and so it's hard for them to market it.
Yeah. I feel like if she's a really good copywriter and she understands the world, that could be really helpful towards the direct mail campaign.
Yes.
And especially with your dreams and goals, like it sounds like one of them is branding and then one of them is like I forget what it's called, direct response marketing, where it's like you're gonna get a transaction, you're gonna get a conversion out of it quicker. Whereas like I feel like with the $10,000 a month, you could be going on TV shows, having keynote speeches, and they may produce, they may not for like 12 months, but then the 12 months after that, you might blow up. Whereas like
Yeah,
the $5,000 a month girl, I feel like she's gonna, you know,
I
you'll
think
sit out.
it's far more targeted. I think
Exactly.
it'll be lead generation, very
Exactly.
targeted lead generation.
You'll get 10 investors in 2 months or something like that, you know.
Yeah, and it is. I mean, there's a lot of brand awareness, and she'd probably modify my website. You know, it's always a work in progress.
Yeah.
Drip campaigns, everything.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there we go. All right. Last couple questions for you. What is one limiting belief that continues to pop up in your life, if any?
I'm full of them. I'm not worthy. I don't have the expertise. I don't think they're going to like me. I mean, everything comes up. Right? It's self-doubt. Absolutely. Self-doubt comes up all the time. Actually, so I have two coaches right now. I have the sales coach, and then I have a high performance coach, and he's the one that does a lot of that mindset stuff. Like, you need to get out of your own head.
Yeah,
So it's weekly mindset workshops, which are useful, and it's good to have that mastermind team there as well.
for sure. For sure. I love it. So you have these limiting beliefs, but you have coaches for the limiting beliefs. Question: do you have any actions that reinforce your limiting belief? So you have the limiting belief, and then you act based on that belief, which gets you the results of that limiting belief.
Yeah, you know, if you think it's going to fail, it will fail. It's like when you ride a mountain bike and you're staring at that rock, you will hit that rock and go
Yeah.
over. Yeah, you know, it's like the cheesy thing. It's like having the case of the Mondays. Sometimes you just have a bad day, or you get rejected. An investor wants in, and then they back out for something. It'll knock the wind out of you, take the wind out of sales. And at some point, you got to realize you can't let that get to you. You
Yeah.
can have your own pity party. Pity parties are fine for 5 minutes, but you need to get over it and move on. That's the hard part you got to figure out. And that's what I'm working on. So I've been listening to these podcasts. They're like the daily motivational podcasts. It's good. They're like 5 or 10 minutes long, and they have snippets of motivational speakers yelling in your ear about, you know, just get up and do it. So it helps. Just get away from the computer, listen to those motivational speeches, and get your mindset straight and get back to work.
Yeah. All righty. Last question for you. Actually, we got two more. My bad.
Okay.
If you were to change your limiting beliefs into an abundant phrase that really spoke to your heart, what would that phrase be?
Oh man, that's deep. I got to start off with a limiting phrase.
We can hit one of the three from earlier. Either I'm not worthy, no expertise, they may not like me, or any of the other ones if you have any more.
Yeah, I think I don't know that my investors are going to convert for me to even go into this deal. I don't know that I'll be able to raise enough. My sales coach kind of sets it, gives us the talk. She's like, no, you can do it. Even if you're not raising successfully in the beginning, you will win in the fourth quarter. You are the fourth quarter athlete, and you will make it happen. It's the whole man in the arena quote. Yeah. I actually have it hanging above here, right? It's get in the arena and just go. Stop with the limiting beliefs. You are a fourth quarter winner.
Yeah. I love it. Last question. What is your favorite belief about yourself?
You know, it's funny. I throughout life, I have put myself in very stretch goal positions. Like I built a random story. I built an aircraft, an experimental airplane. Had I ever built an airplane before? No, I've engineered them, but I've never hand built a little 2-seater aircraft. Had no idea how to do it. But friends and I, we just did it. We just got in there and did it, and we figured it out. I mean, I can take that story and look at so many other times in my life when I just just decided to take that leap of faith, and I'm going to figure it out. And so far I have succeeded at all of those leap of faiths. So I'm just going to go do this, taking this leap of faith. And so far I'm succeeding.
Sounds like you're talking yourself into $10,000 a month worth of marketing.
Or five.
Yeah, or five, or five. There we go. I like that though. I like that. Well, awesome, Flint. That's all we got for you, man. Is there anything else you want to chat about before we sign off?
No, I think that's good. You can reach out to me at investwithflint.com. It'll take you to my site, Vestus Capital.
Sounds good. If you guys were listening to this and you loved what Flint had to say, make sure to check him out at investwithflint.com. That will be down in the show notes. Thank you guys for watching. Flint, thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you, Timmy.
Awesome. We'll see you guys on the next one. And on that note, we're out.